Hallo, ja, dit werkt wel.
Hallo. Hey, ja, nu werkt het wel. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, I mean. Yes, so we're here at ADE, de brakke grond. Yeah, my name is Oliver Heldens. I'm from the Netherlands, from Rotterdam. So this is like the big rival of Amsterdam. We are better than Amsterdam at some point, but Amsterdam is ADE, and that's why we're here. And I don't have that much time, and I probably can talk the whole time. So first, I would love to know where we should talk about, what I should show. So maybe we can just throw like words, random words like baseline or sidechaining or DJ, what? EQing, baselines, yeah, what? Mastering, okay, that's one thing with mastering. I'll already tell you with mastering. We are all creative, probably. I mean, we are also technical as a producer. But one thing I believe in is never focus on the technical part. That's boring, and it's also it doesn't help your creativity always. Of course, if you're working in a synth like Massive or whatever, it's really good to be a little bit technical. So because in that way you can do more stuff, of course. And a lot of times with producing, it's about kind of solving problems. You have an idea and you want to turn the idea into something which sounds good. But then mastering is the last thing you have to think of. Usually, personally, I don't want to master anything. Also, if someone sends me promos, I don't like it when it's mastered. Unless it's mastered by, a professional master who has like the best studio with the best sound and who has 20 years of knowledge about mastering. Because mastering, it's not making music, it's refining a worst, a sausage. You know what I mean? You have a sausage, and the master turns the sausage in a slightly bigger sausage. It still keeps dynamic, but personally, I never play master stuff. I mean, of course, when the track is finished and it's mastered, then of course I play it in my sets. But I prefer to don't master anything and just don't clip, of course. But let me talk. We can always talk later about mastering. I don't want to talk about mastering. So bass lines. Well, a lot of people ask me stuff about my bass lines, and it's kind of the same thing as I was saying before with mastering. My bass lines, I don't really process them. Of course, you hear lots of stuff going on. They sound pretty big, but that's not because of the bass. It's because of the actual synths and the sounds, the samples, whatever. Because my actual sub, I usually don't really EQ it. I mean, of course, I EQ it a little bit if I have to, but I prefer to just find the perfect sub in like silent or massive or zero. It doesn't matter at all, or even an 808. Like, do we have? Oh yes. Okay. Do we have sound? Do we? Let's grab this gig. I opened a random project, and what I was saying about bass. So personally, I don't process my sub bass that much. But there's so many different ways to make a bass line. You can take a sample, like a good 808, and then of course it's really fun to process an 808 and make it very grimy or make it, I don't know, however you want it. So plugins I like to use to actual process stuff is like Guitar Rig, I love, and I love Camel Fat. With Camel Fat, usually it gets too much really quick. So I mean, I know there's a lot of like saturizers out there. It is also kind of the way I like to compress. Talking about compressors, just forget everything you know. It doesn't really matter, I think. It's all. I don't. Okay, when I started, of course, my productions didn't sound good, and also I was all googling and reading books about compressing and all those other stuff, sidechaining. Yeah, of course, there was lots of interesting stuff to read, but at the end, it all came down to just doing it, and the most important thing is to then actually listen to what you're doing. Your ears are the most important, and of course your mind, your ideas. And so that's why I think it's important to just don't know too much. Nothing is wrong or right. Just make music, you know. And so, what was I saying? Okay, we were at the bass lines and we was testing sound. Where's the sound? No sound yet, but let's go into this. Oh shit. Okay, let's track quick now. Yeah, so we have sound. So oh yeah, I see. I made a project. It's called. It's a remix I did for Steve Aoki. Let's check this out.
Somebody show got a birthday. Somebody gon' turn 18. Somebody just turned 21. You know that means. You know.
Yeah, put some jungle beats and stuff in there, which are. Yeah. I will try to focus on the bass because that's what we first want to talk about, I think. And so many people ask me about my bass. So so right here is the intro. I love to start with break beats and with jungle beats.
Somebody just turned 21. You know that means.
So let's mute the vocals. They're not that important. Just an 808 kick. I think it's from the battery. You know, native instruments, they have battery 4, and I don't use the battery for the actual plugin. I saw Chocolate Puma using it, and it was amazing to see that. I should probably use the plugin, but there's a lot of really cool samples in there, which just come from drum machines. But actually, probably most samples you'll find on the internet, somehow they route back to an 808 or 909 or Lynx. I don't know all the drum computers. I don't like hardware too much. I mean, I love to play with synth hardware. Like my dad is a really big synth freak. Like he has like a Mini Moog, and sometimes I could like borrow his Mini Moog, and the bass on that Mini Moog, it would sound so mind blowing. But still, I would still use the plugins. Maybe I know it's a shame for the analog fans. Hey, this sounds pretty tight too. So this is 808. Yeah. So what I did is here you can see that I made it a little bit longer. Here it didn't do anything here. Cool. And now into the channel. Yeah, so I just put a camel fat on it with actually a lot of lots of distortion, because without like this. Oh, also I like the sound here. So now it's like really old school jungle drum and bass vibes, but we're in 2017, so. Okay, and then here's the EQ. Yeah, it doesn't do that much. The filter, but that's not. The filter doesn't do anything. It's just for the automation. I like to automate a lot. You know, you can go in your filter and you can, of course, automate. I mean, I think most people know how to automate. So that was one of the examples for a bass line. Just 808 kick with some distortion, and they are already there. But something which I notice a lot is that people, they over-process the whole everything, not just on the mastering side, but also it can be on the bass side. It can be a kick drum which they over-process. It can be a clap. This is also my personal taste. I mean, even though I love hardstyle, I don't really resonate with the new school hardstyle. I love like the more warmer stuff. Also with drum and bass, there's a lot of really crazy stuff out there. Dubstep the same. I personally prefer more warmer sounds, but of course still keep it open. And what I've noticed is people, they would send me really the loudest track ever, and you will be like, whoa, holy shit. But then when you actually would hear it on a system like this, your ears, they get very tired. I mean, I'm not want to say it's ear rape, but that's probably how Nina Kravitz would, or Seth Rockström would probably say it's ear rape. But there's lots of stuff out there, and it's like, they call it the loudness war, everybody wants to be the loudest. But there's one thing which I've experienced: the louder you go, the less bass you have, basically. There should always be space for the sub, and that's why my sub sounds so big. I don't process. I mean, of course, there's a little edge on the sub, like here. But this is just a sub in the break. So let's go to the sub in the drop. The most important sub, of course.
About 4 million in gold chains, about 10 million in bottles. You never get this lotto. This vibe, this vibe, this vibe, this vibe. You never get this lotto.
That was not how it should be. Yeah, okay, let's go here. Yeah, I think this is an old version, and then so a lot of times I would take a track I'm working on, I would just copy the file, and I would take certain elements and try to make something different or new. I'm not really that organized. Of course, sometimes sometimes I save a mixer channel with distortions, or I would save a preset in Massive or in Serum. So I'm not happy how it sounds right now, but let's go to the bass. Where is the bass? Oh, there's no side chaining or something. What's happening? Okay, side chaining. So I'm not happy with the bass right now, but still, let's go to the bass. Okay, so also for this one I used Radio 8. This is a different one. And also, okay, it goes to channel number 1. Right. So here I used both Camel Fat, guitar rig, a little bit EQ, just to give the mids extra boost. The filter, which doesn't do anything now, it's just for the automation. I think that, reverb, it's reverb on the bass, reverb on the sub. The most wrong thing you can do, according to many technical producers. But it's not really a perfect sub. It's not clean. How does it sound? So as you can hear, the guitar rig does a lot. I love to use the hot solo. I don't make my subs like this. This is something I've been doing recently, using 808s. Usually my subs are really clean, and then on top of it I put the dirty stuff. But recently, for example, I will show you a new track. It's called The Sound. Let's hear it. So, break it.
The sound of Israel, Berlin, San Francisco, the club.
So this track is not mastered, no, not on the master, I think. Also the drop is not 100%, but you will definitely get the idea. So the think with this, for example, with this track, the sample, I wanted to do a song on the sample for ages, and I was on Ibiza, and there, I was the whole summer on Ibiza, and, okay, shit, we're already 50 minutes in, but I don't want to talk too much. So, I made it on Ibiza, but then I was just using headphones. I love the Shure headphones, it doesn't matter. I never produce on DJ headphones, really. I love the V-Modas to DJs with, but please don't produce on it. What was that? Oh yeah, so usually in one day, if I have inspiration, I have ideas, I can finish a track till like 70, 80%. Okay. And then, you know, when I'm home in my studio, I can really adjust the volume levels, the dynamics, whatever. So this track is not finished. With this track, I didn't use my synth bass as a bass, but I used a sample. That's why it's so lo-fi, why it's so grimy. And that's also a little bit of idea I had with this track. But now I'll just show you the result, because this project I fucked some stuff up. This is the result.
Somebody's your birthday, somebody's gonna turn 8. Do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Somebody's your birthday, somebody's gonna turn 18. Somebody's gonna turn 21. You know only in a car. Shit, me shit the lotto.
It sounds, you know, way more balanced than the project I'm in right now. It is also a matter of time. I wouldn't recommend to finish, even though if you have a track, you made a track in 2 days, and it's like 85% finished, or it feels like it's finished. Just let it rest for a few months or weeks, it doesn't matter. And for me, I can play it out, test it in my sets, that helps. I can show it to, for example, I have a sound guy on tour, and he's like kind of what he does is basically live mastering, which is really difficult. I won't be able to do it that well as he does. He's the best, but he can give me good feedback. But also, of course, I can just send it to DJs, and because there's still, I mean, I think many people look very highly to all the big DJs, but I mean, most of them, they also don't know jack shit about mastering or, that doesn't matter. It's really important to focus on being creative, being happy, just having fun. Also collaborating is really fun. Yeah, just don't have a big ego, that helps. And yeah, there's probably people with questions. So if you can think of a question, I will just show you maybe something I'm working on, and then I can explain things I've done. Yeah. But I'm working on something new. I just want to sound check it right now. Now you can already hear the high, the drums, it could be more open, but I mean the bass sounds pretty tight. Yeah, well, you know what's also difficult with things like this? I mean, I never heard the sound system. I love to, it's important to have references. Like your ears are super important. For my setup at home, I love my setup. I'm using Genelecs, the wooden ones, the old, like the 1030As. And I really love the whole series of those. But I have they're relatively small ones. But then now at home I have a second pair, and those are the Eves. You have Adams. They're pretty good, but Eves even better. Adam and Eves, yeah, it's a long story, a weird story I heard. So the Eves are so different. The Eves, yeah, so again, this track, it should have more high, a little bit more wider in the high end. But the bass, I like the bass. Forget, of course, because you never should think too much about theory, I think, when you're working on something. I mean, people, of course, they always say, yeah, the bass, it should be mono. But for example, I saw this guy on YouTube, and he would like explain my tracks and some other Future House tracks. Like he was explaining like Charlie's bass and my bass. He was comparing like the bass, and then you could see that in the actual bass, so below 160 hertz, there was still like from like 160 to like and up, it was stereo a little bit, and so usually that's wrong, but it sounds really big. It's all about what you want basically. Also with advice, and it's really fun to give each other feedback and give each other advice, and also never take my advice or Chesto's advice. Never put that advice on like, how do you say that? Never. It's all red. You should never. Hè? Ja, je moet nooit dat advies denken dat het dan beter advies zou zijn omdat het van iemand komt die heel groter is. Want ik bedoel, your mother can also give great advice in her way. So at the end, if you're producing, especially if you're like getting somewhere, there's going to be lots of people throwing stuff at you. So it's really important that you always, it's very cliche, but you stay true to yourself. And everything is relative. Success is the most relative thing in the world. So, but let's go to the musicals. Weird shit. Time runs fast. Project the right song. Let me go. Actually, that's an interesting project. Wombas. My drummer is Chesto. I made it on my old computer, but let me check. No, it's not over here. Well, okay, let me just open another project. Okay, is there any suggestions or questions? Okay, let's do a question.
Could you maybe show your sub-kick relationship in
Oh yeah,
one
of
of
course.
your tracks?
Yeah.
Because, that's something you do really well.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
struggling with.
Yeah. So this is just a. Okay, I'm just doing a random project. Let me check what we have right now. I think it's better if I just go into. Okay, that's also why I love FL Studio. Right here, this is like basically a drum computer with unlimited possibilities, but it's just a small thing in a project, you know. So before you actually work on the track, you can just stay into this sequencer. It's like a sequencer in a sequencer. And right now I'm just opening a new pattern. So lots of sounds already which I loaded in, and I don't know what's what. This is 808. Okay, but it might probably be better to open a new project, but I want to try to just show it from the. Where is my punchy kick? Where is it? Yeah. Oh wait, I know what's happening. Yeah, so that's also a thing with Fruity Loops. It's not that organized. I mean, unless you are, you know how you make it organized. I don't know. I don't want to know. But actually, if you want to be organized, Studio One from PSonus is pretty good. It's probably the best software out there right now. I mean, I think it's better than Fruity Loops. I bought Studio One like 2 years ago, but I'm using Fruity Loops still. Because, I mean, I've been using Fruity Loops since I was 12, and, you know, why should I change it? Okay, here we have the kick. I want to slow it down a little bit. Yeah, the kick has more reverb now because we are in a big room. Okay, so here you can see that I made the kick a little bit shorter. Let me check what. So this is the kick. Okay, this is the original kick. It's from Kashmir. You all know Kashmir, really talented producer from LA, and he made a sample pack with the perfect, EDM kicks. And I first, what the fuck did I do here? Okay, well, anyways, let's just forget this EQ now. So this is a really, heavy kick, but what you can hear, it already has a long tail with sub. And in my case, I don't want that because I'm going to add more bass. So you don't want two bass to interact with each other, and that's what you were asking. How do you make that happen? So first I cranked it down the envelope, so less decay, still force a little bit, but no sustain. So no tail, and now you get this. Yeah, there's still some reverb going on here, or some. Yeah, so that's, right now we're not in the studio, so, but okay, so now it has a shorter tail, and now we can take a sub. Let's go into, silent, load presets. Where are my own presets? So that's also not really good if you're, like me, not organized. It's hard to find things, but at the same time, because I'm kind of limited that way, it makes me doing stuff over and over again, which I shouldn't probably do, but that makes me, sometimes, you can create new things when you're doing something you've done before. Okay. Oh, yeah, so here I have 5 presets for myself. Yeah, this is a relatively new computer. I should probably have saved more presets because I only can choose 5 now. So here we have the Exceeder versus Italo bass. I will go into that later because now we're into actual bass, and this is the bass sub. So it would be logical to click this one. Okay, let's hear it. That's the first. Let's just try to make it a little bit more tech housey. picking, I'm super critical when I start a track about, you know, the rhythm, the melody. Usually I don't even, when I start a track, I don't really go too technical. I just want to compose first. So when I have inspiration, I go into my computer, I go into here, I have, for example, right now, I have this bass sound, which sounds already pretty tight, and then the kick drum from Kashmir, which is already amazing kick drum. I mean, it's not that hard to make okay music nowadays. Now, let's try to make a proper bass line. Or I can also just make a bass line with only 4. So I have this track called, it's called This, the Center of Norm. It's probably one of my most played tracks when it comes to DJs and why is there no wave from? Well, let's just play this. This is the intro.
Music, makes the
This.
So it's just a kick and a bass line, and that's what, so let's just try to go for something similar. Yeah, that's probably it. So now you know it's pretty boring. Ding, 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 What's happening here? Come on. Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways to make a bass. So now it's a square bass. Let's check a triangle. Come on. I don't like this bass. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go back. I don't like the bass. Oh, here. Okay, well, let's just go with this now. Let's go to a new channel. It's so, oh yeah, right now it's not sidechain, of course. That's also what's. Okay, now I go to, I don't know how you linked it to, routed it to channel 4, where I have a gross beat. Oh yeah, so this is one of my tricks. Kind of, gross beat is a plugin in FL. You have a sidechain mode. Let me just show it real quick. And the sidechain mode sucks. Look, you only have this, and this is not a good sidechain. Let me start with that. This can be a good sidechain if you want to sidechain your hi-hats or something, but right now you're not going to sidechain your kick drum with this. I wouldn't do that. What I did, I made my own preset. I basically visually kind of, and of course with hearing it, I drew my own envelope. So it looks pretty weird, but it's kind of logical. basically the space you see here is the kick drum, and what you see here is the actual bass, volume-wise. And you can actually also adjust the compression of the dynamics, because here you have the release, you have, I don't know what it is, but it's threshold or something. You know, it's the compressor theory shit. So now it goes into this side thing. That's mute kick. So as you can hear, the growth beat, it doesn't kill the kick, it doesn't kill the bass 100%. But I should probably answer this question in a quicker way. Yeah. But I think it's already, I mean, what I just showed you was my own envelope for a side chaining. And then of course the kick is important, that the tail is not stopped. Because now it's muddy. Because now the kick still has a tail. But I mean, I don't know how this would sound in my studio, but I'm not a fan right now. But still, I think it shows pretty much how I do it. But there's also other ways. Let's show one other way I would do it. Okay, let's go into a new project. I mean new, because what you can also do is, of course, freak a little bit. Yes, old school Dutch house, Baltimore, I don't know, bass. Oh yeah, also important, sometimes a sample kick, a kick drum, it already is in a kind of key. And for example, in Cashmere's package, it actually shows you the key, because those kick drums, they all have a little tail, and those tails, even though you might not be able to hear the actual note, it is a note usually. So, and if you want to use a little bit of the tail, like for example, Chocolate Puma, their kicks, they are not really like me. Let me show you an example. Shit, where is it? Where is the track I want to show? Well, that doesn't matter. But usually what they choose to make bigger kick drums with a little bit of tail, and then they still manage to sidechain it, because you don't have to always, you can also sidechain with, let me just show, I will just try something. Maybe there's people who have also questions which they can already ask, and maybe something very different, but I will just try it.
It's not so technical, but what I think about is really cool about your music is that when people hear it, or they're just like, oh yeah, that's definitely Ellsworth. Or some people tend to compare other songs, like, oh, that should be Oliver Heldens, but it's not them. So I think it's pretty cool that people tend to compare your music, like you made something unique. So I wanted to ask you, like, how did you manage to get it? Because with drawing, it's the same thing. You have to work to get there, but what was your technique?
Well, it's a fair question, and there's not really one answer to it, because it's really a development. I was signed to Spin-In when I was 17. I can go real quick into kind of timeline. So I had this track. It's not going to sound that well, but this is why Spin-In signed me, basically. And then from there, I'm going to show you more tracks, and it makes sense why people can hear it's me. And it's just a lot of different factors. Of course, I have a preference for certain rhythms, melodies. I think like everybody in this room has been living on Earth for probably more than 10 years, more than 15 years, or some more than 40 years, I don't know. And of course in our lives we hear a lot of music, but everyone absorbs music in their own way, and everybody experiences music in their own way. And personally, I always have beats in my unconsciousness, or rhythms. Especially when I make music, your most preferred rhythms, or your most preferred melody changes, harmonically, they will always come back. So that's probably why melodically people could think like, oh, this. My dad always says, hey, this could be yours, or oh, this is probably yours, right? And I mean, sometimes he's right, sometimes he isn't. But let me just show you what I did. At this moment, I was very inspired by people like Zed, Adian, you know, the progressive, complex electro scene. I was really stepping away from my more housey roots, because it was 2011 or 12, I think 12. I love arpeggios. It's funny, people always thought that I had a trance background, but I don't like trance. I mean, I don't hate it or something. It's not my thing. So it's very sad, Dyro. Which really got me noticed by spinning, and I was already making bootlegs. Let me show you a bootleg. Come on, is it this computer? Where is the bootleg? You know, Kelvin Harris, Alesso, they have this really dope progressive big room, not progressive, but it's big room, you know, track. And yeah, I want to make a festival edit, so that's what it is. Here we go. Very big room, but still melodic. And you know, also with this track, you know, when Gecko came online, it was on ID, and I already had a few releases. For example, like, and probably because of this release, people Juggernaut. This was like one of the third. So there was this moment that I was really going back to my roots. My roots for me are the sneakers, house sound, Fedler Grant, Lebeck Luke, but also, you know, Green Velvet, Cinnamon Eric E, also the Crookers, you know, electro, house, mixed together. But now I was inspired by the UK deep house vibes.